Okay, welcome to this TRE talk in this TRE talk and tremor series. Today we have the pleasure of having Fiona Soma on the talk. I first met Fiona in a TRE conference in Dubrovnik some years ago, and I got a lot of good advice for my own TRE trainings and practice. I also had a participant in my training who previously had been in Fiona's training, who was repeatedly told me, "Hans, you must use more music," she said, very strictly. And she said, Fiona always uses music. So I got very curious about what Fiona was doing and thought I must learn something from Fiona. And this is the third time I think I have the honor of having you on a call. So welcome. And welcome also to everyone else who joined us today. It's great to see everyone. If you want to write something in the chat, maybe something about where you're located, what your experience with TRE, are you a trainer, practitioner, using TRE for yourself at home, and so on. That would be great for us to know. Okay, welcome, Fiona.
Hey, everyone. So if everyone could put your name, oh, well, your name is there, but if it's not your real name, if you could put your real name, and tell us where you're from in the chat, and let us know if you're a TRE person, if you are someone who offers TRE, or if you're just a client who's interested in TRE, or maybe you're a trainee. So just tell us what your status is, just so that we know who we're talking to. And yeah, welcome everyone. So I'm Fiona. It's good to see some faces that I already know, and good to see some new faces. So I'm going to invite you guys to just close your eyes for a moment once you've done the little thing in the chat. And check in with your bodies. So just kind of do a little body scan, check in, see how your heartbeat is, see how your breathing is. See what's happening in terms of body temperature. If there's any pain or discomfort or tightness in any parts of your body, notice that. And I'm going to invite you to take a piece of paper, if you have one, please, or your phone is also okay. And maybe put in the notes 1 to 5. So this will be number 1. We're going to start to notice our nervous system. And we're going to try throughout the session to keep noticing what's happening in our nervous systems. Please put your hand up if you're going to be here for the full 3 hours, or if you're just here for the first hour. So, okay. All right. And for all those people who are without video, we'd love to see your face. It's kind of just a little bit part of that whole ventral vagal experience of just looking around the room, noticing some people that maybe you know, smiling, connecting. Let's take a nice breath. Okay, so I think we've got about, wow, 24, 25 people. So welcome to Kate from Montreal, TRE provider, Sylvia in the UK, I think we've met before, I think. Debbie from Harare, cool. Hey, Debbie. Debbie's a TRE trainee. I'm from Zambia, Debbie, so yeah, next door. Born in Zambia. Yasmin, certified a year ago. Awesome. Anita from Sri Lanka. Nice. It must be a bit late for you, Anita. Thank you for coming and joining us. Christina, hello, Christina. You're one of my trainees in Romania. Diana in Stockholm, welcome. Good to meet you. Jutta, I think we've met before, TRE provider and use it for personal practice and clients. And you're in San Diego, cool. Yasmin in Switzerland, TRE provider, welcome. Mike from Sarajevo, welcome. Leah, one of my trainees in Bucharest, welcome. Meta from Norway, welcome, TRE provider. Lana, also in Norway, TRE provider. You did well to get your providers to come, Hans. Kasia from Poland and the Netherlands, TRE provider, somatic voice practitioner, osteopath in education. Wow, nice. Welcome, Katja. Netta from Gothenburg in Sweden, a trainee and a physiotherapist. Welcome. Christina from Brazil. Hey, welcome. Interested in learning more about TRE, maybe becoming a provider, facilitator one day and combining it with yoga, breath work. Fantastic. Bev in Belito in South Africa, we've met. Welcome, Bev. Christina, only here for the first hour, have to go back to work. We're not sure what you do, Christina, or who you really are, but welcome. Tina, also from South Africa, she's a trainee and we know each other. And Dahlia in Dubai. Cool, we've got people in Dubai. Yay. TRE is growing. That's wonderful. So welcome, everyone. As I said, I'm Fiona. And just a couple of kind of household things just to start off with. First of all, to say that this is completely confidential. So whatever anybody discusses in the group, we're going to leave here. It is being recorded, but it is only for people who I believe who paid. Hans, is that correct?
Actually, this particular talk is meant to be recorded and open to the and shared, actually. So that particular piece of so the sort of the private questions and so on are for the next session, where it's a closed group for people who have signed up. And that recording will not be shared, only to those who have signed up. But this recording will actually be shared.
Okay, no problem. So please remember that, everybody. If you are going to share in this first section, just remember it will be shared with other people. So if you don't want your voice to be heard by maybe thousands of people, keep quiet until the second hour. I don't normally say keep quiet to people because obviously we want to hear your voice and we want to encourage you to make sound, actually. And that's what this is all about.
I would like to mention that it is possible to ask questions in the chat or comment in the chat. Yes. And those will be anonymous. The chat is not shared.
Great. All right. So if you do put a question in the chat, you can either put it to me anonymously, or you could put it to Hans anonymously if you want to put it in Norwegian language, or you can put it to the group and I won't mention the names so that the person is not identified. Okay. So just a little bit about me, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a trainer of TRE. I train in Romania, Portugal, Thailand, South Africa, and I work online as well as in real life. And I'm also a somatic educator, and I specialize in relationships and sexuality. So I work a lot, obviously, with sexual trauma and trauma in relationships. And one of the things that I really love working with, and I really invite and encourage people to try and work with, is sound, music, and mantra. And, you know, I think that many of us have been trained in a very standardized way, and that's what we want. We want people to have a very standardized training. But as a little add-on, we kind of say, well, what about throwing in a bit of music? So I'm curious, who in this space uses music? And put either put your hand up or put one of those little reactions of like, you know, thumbs up or heart or something like that. And just, yeah, let's just put our hands up just so that we can actually see, wow. So there's quite a lot of you that do use music already. Maybe the people who don't use music, put your hands up, or you don't use sound, or you've never used music or sound in your TRE. Okay, so we've got Tina and Kate and Anya and okay, so there's a few of you, Tina as well. All right, so maybe you could put in the chat what kind of music you generally play in your own TRE sessions, and would that be for you yourself or would it be for your clients? So I'm just curious to know what you're already utilizing so that we can get an idea of, or I can get an idea of how far I can go with this session and what I can bring to you, because you probably already know quite a lot. So let's have a look here. So we went, okay, so what somebody's written to me directly to say that they weren't allowed to with their trainer. Somebody else said I used to, but haven't for about a year. Somebody else says that they use music sound as a form of intervention. That I'm really interested in, Katja. I'm very interested in how you do that. Voice work as part of the tremoring. Awesome, that's interesting. Somebody says classical relaxing music or African music. And I'm going to say that that person who wrote that is probably saying classical relaxing music if their nervous system is a little bit up, and maybe some African beats if their nervous system is down. I hope so. For myself, any music that I feel the need to taste for can be dance, meditational, jazz, prayers. Beautiful. I play the gong. Oh, nice. And quite a few other instruments. And I'm assuming that that is, you're playing that for your clients. Would that be correct, Meta? Jutsa, nature sounds, mantras, very nice. Drumming, entertainment music, done it once with a client. Okay. Anna Lenting, Jeremy Tolley for integration, generally piano music in the first 6 sessions, slow, no lyrics. After the 4th session, I might throw in some beats and lyrics. Experiment more with it and also use it as a little intervention. Awesome. Haven't used it for ages, relaxing acoustic music, use it soft, calm music, decided not to use after wondering different music don't trigger some people. I think that's a really good question. You know, can music trigger people and is it a trigger? Okay, so that's correct. So you're using the gong with people. Wow, that must be amazing. Also some a cappella music to hum along to. Beautiful. Okay, so that particular person who's talking about using the a cappella, she's actually been studying sound. So actually you can really do some beautiful stuff with sound therapy even. Okay, so a lot of you are using music already. Somebody else using it for yourself, relaxing music, Jeremy Dottoli. Okay, so Jeremy is actually a great friend of mine. We actually do quite a lot of work together. Do all of you know Jeremy's album? And it's for free. Okay, so it's free on David's website. At some point in the session, I'm going to get the link and I'll put it in the chat so everyone can download it. Meryl, if you're able to find it on David's website, it's in the resources section. I would very much appreciate it. So Jeremy, one of my colleagues, he wrote an album while he was studying TRE, actually. And he's a musician. He's actually a rock musician who's used to standing on stage with a guitar and kind of like really like pushing it out there, and girls throwing panties and that kind of thing. And he went and wrote a piano album, a really beautiful piano album. So I invite everybody to have a look at it. He's gifted it to the TRE community. So please go and download it and use it, because it's profound. And it's profound because of the spaces in between. So Jeremy has really considered through his own practice some of those spaces in between, and some of the stillness that occurs in between some of the notes. So have a look at that album, have a listen to it, see if it resonates with you. There's number 3, I think. So they actually called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe. And number 3 is like kind of 19.5 minutes long. And it's the most perfect sort of song to play during one TRE session. So it's the right amount of time. You can have it on really low, and it just works. It really, really works. It's beautiful. It's beautiful in bringing the parasympathetic nervous system in and just grounding yourself and your client. So that's one of the things that I wanted to tell you about. So if you came in a little bit late, just to say, please notice your nervous system. And I'd like to just briefly share my screen with you guys. And I want us to just have, I can't see that. Not sure why we can't see that. Let's see. This is where. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think everybody can see that. I think everyone in this room has probably seen this diagram. Okay, I hope that you have. I want to just stress that whenever we go into any situation, ideally, what I really invite you to consider doing is checking in and saying, where am I? Where am I on this bell curve? Am I in the blue? Am I a little bit shut down? Am I a little bit dissociated? Am I a little bit numb? Or am I in the red? Do I have a little bit of fight flight going on? Am I feeling a little bit of anger, a bit of rage, a bit of frustration, irritation, scratchiness, that kind of thing? Do I have increased heart rate? Am I sweating? All that kind of thing. Or am I in the green? Okay. Hopefully, if we're a TRE provider, and if we're doing our own TRE, hopefully we spend sometimes in the green. Not all the time, because of course we're all going to get that difficult email and that horrible phone call from the tax man or those kinds of people. And we're going to go up into one of those other states, because that's what happens with the nervous system. And it's what's meant to happen to the nervous system. Okay, so even if you are a Buddhist and you live a beautiful life in the mountains in Nepal, you've still got to get there. You've got to endure the cold. It's really freezing there in winter, so that's quite stressful. And it might be like really kind of quiet and all that sort of thing, but you've got challenges to deal with. So there are going to be times that wherever we are in life, we're going to have stress. And it's really how we manage to deactivate, to come down. And I think many of us in the space are using TRE to come down. But I'm wanting us to, during the session, to keep checking in with this nervous system of ours. Okay, I've got to find out who's talking. There we go. We just muted her. So let's keep checking in and just giving it a few words. So it might just be like, I'm feeling very hot and my heartbeat is racing and I'm feeling dry in the mouth. So just a few words for you to write down when prompted. Okay. All right, so if you want to go to the bathroom or do anything like that, please just get up and go. You don't need to ask, you don't need to worry about us thinking that you're a bad student. And if you've got questions along the way, please put them in the chat, okay? Because I want to try and answer your questions. I don't want to leave those, you know, out there in the world for you to keep wondering for the next 5 years. So please put stuff in the chat and I will try and get to it. All right, so let's do a little ventral bagel exercise. All right, is everybody sitting really comfortably? So I'm going to invite you to take your hands and just pull out the flesh from under your buttocks. Pull the flesh to the side so that you're really sitting kind of deeply into your sit bones. And I invite you to place your hands somewhere that feels safe, comfortable. Could be in your lap, could be one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, whatever feels good for you for now. You're going to close your eyes and we're going to just take a look at our breath. Observing how the breath enters and exits. Trying to do this without judgment. Let's also notice our heartbeat. Is it slower than normal or faster than normal? Or do you even have a normal? Is it comfortable or uncomfortable? And maybe you have your own word for it. Maybe it's not comfortable or uncomfortable. It could be something else. And just noticing if there are any areas of discomfort, like perhaps in your shoulders or your jaw, or your neck, your pelvis, your knees. And all we're doing is noticing. We're not doing anything to make it go away. We're not worrying about it. We're just noticing it. Now I invite you to open your eyes and have a look at my hands. We're going to make these little cups. And we're going to place the cups over our ears. You're going to completely cover the ear, but really lightly. So you're not pushing down, you're just cupping it. Now bring your chin to your chest. And I invite you to listen to the sound of your own breath. See if you can even access the sound of your breath. And really listen, my loves. There's a whole world in there. I'm just starting to increase the inhalation and the exhalation in terms of sound. So It can be either an internal breath, like an Ujjayi breath, the yoga type of breath down the back of the throat, or it can be an exhalation out through the mouth. But I'm going to invite you to lengthen on the exhale. So already starting to feel into this more ventral vagal pattern of breathing, expanding, softening, lengthening that exhalation. Now let's take the hands off from the ears. Just give the hands a little shake. And I invite you to feel back into your nervous system again. What's going on? Can you just note down number 2? Putting a few words on paper, just in terms of, has anything shifted or changed since the last time we wrote something down? You're also welcome to put something in the chat if you feel for it. There's a part 2 to this exercise. We're going to take our fingertips and we're going to start stroking all the way from the hairline, all the way down the front of the face, over the cheeks, down the chin, all the way down the neck to the base of the neck. And then we come back up. Now here's the catch, my loves. This is a newborn baby that you're stroking. It's just been born. So it's a day old. So consider the tips of your fingers, remembering that this is a newborn, a few hours old. And as you come down, feel the contours, feel the orifices, feel the different textures and curves and openings. Just be really present with this part of your body. And there's almost a sense of curiosity as you come down from the top of the head. You come down through the eyes and the cheeks, the neck. A curiosity of, wow, I'm not familiar with this space. I don't think there's many of us that really take time to come into this place on a regular basis. And let's just take a few more breaths as we do a few more strokes. Really sensing the sacred. This is sacred. And this is really safe because it's your touch on your body. And this is how you would have liked to have been touched when you were a baby. And let's give our hands a little shake out. And if you feel for it, you might want to write down again, something else might have shifted in the nervous system. Let's all take a big breath. So, Sylvia has popped the resource down. Thank you so much, Sylvia. Also, Meryl said it's available on Spotify. She's also popped it down there as well. From Leah, relaxed and yawning. From Julie, hey Julie, more settled and grounded. From Kata, breathing from the belly, tingling in the palms, nice. From Renee, I feel safe. And I feel like resting my face in my palms. Okay. So if anybody feels to do anything with their body, please go for it. This is a space for you to play a little bit. And I'm always up for a bit of play. Any questions so far? Anybody wanting to ask something? Brahmi, slowly letting tension slowly letting go. Also, from someone, a little sadness when touching the face. I think that it's interesting, that comment, because, and thank you so much for that comment. I think that when we get into that state of really treating ourselves beautifully and gently and sacredly, something really shifts. And I think we can get to some of those deeper feelings through that ventral vagal safe state. That's ideally the place that we want to be, to feel some of those things. I'm ideally starting to make sounds on my exhales with the stroking, which I found interesting. Okay, nice, very nice. Fascia opening to the head, neck, and throat, lovely. From somebody, a question: is this something you could get a client to do during tremors to help them feel safe? Yes, absolutely. You know, it's a beautiful, just ventral vagal little toning exercise. And you know, sometimes you might do it at the beginning of a session. Sometimes you might do it during the session. I always say, and I'm going to say, and I'm going to do a little presentation in part 2. And I'm going to say in that presentation that there is no one size fits all. So for some people, it might be appropriate to do it during the session, and for some people, maybe not. So just, you know, obviously check out the nervous system. If somebody's a little bit dissociated, that could take them into some other deeper place, to be honest. So we have to be careful with people who dissociate. But, you know, obviously, if you're talking them through it, not leaving too many silences, trying to keep them present to the little exercise or practice. But absolutely, I do it. Generally, I do it with groups, and I do it as one of the grounding exercises at the beginning of a group. And I find it just really gets people into their ventral vagal, gets them grounded, gets them safe to be doing TRE. All right, from somebody also privately, had some tremors in my face, sent to video to David. He recommended touching my face like you just showed us, and suggested it had to do with birth trauma. Yes. So again, you know, I think, to be honest with you guys, most of us have, and not to take away from anybody, but I think most of us, I think being born is traumatic. Okay, I think it's like the first trauma of our lives is being born. You know, coming out of your mother's vagina, this is like serious trauma. I mean, you know, she's but traumatized, she's frightened, she feels stuff. Again, in part 2, I'm going to talk about some of the auditory senses that are available to us in utero. And, you know, we sense so much. And sometimes mom and dad are not happy, and there's a whole lot of fighting, and there's a whole lot of, you know, unhealthy stuff happening in our environment. Sometimes there's domestic abuse and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I think even before we're born, some of us are witnessing or being party to some of our mother's trauma. And then being born is super traumatic. Having that umbilical cord cut. Remember that in Indigenous communities, they only cut that cord maybe after 7 days. So baby stays on mom for quite, you know, a long time, connected. And that's vital. Stephen Porges talks about the first 20 minutes of life. And if we're not on mom or dad or another warm human being co-regulating, our vagus nerve is instantly compromised, instantly. So the first 20 minutes of life are hugely important. And in that first 20 minutes, there's a lot of trauma. You know, the umbilical cord can be wrapped around the baby's neck. The baby might be born, you know, not breathing so well with some lung issues. Or so there's often trauma at birth. And yeah, I think that working with the very soft touch and working with this kind of baby image is very, very profound. So, you know, we don't even really need to know about birth trauma. I think that sometimes, you know, we don't know what's happened with people with TRE. So I just tend to do it with everyone. And generally, sometimes people pop up and go, oh, that sort of brought something back around my birth, and I do expect that to happen because, as I said, I think so many people have birth trauma. More relaxed, more grounded, self-love, calmness. I stroke my face. It's so nice. Tenderness of self-compassion and a little sad feeling. Can it be done during integration? Yeah, I mean, I love that question because you know, integration is quite an interesting time. For the TRE providers in the room, how many of you have witnessed people not being able to get into integration or just lie there for a certain amount of time, like in, you know, shavasana, or just lying in fetal position after the tremoring? Anybody here find that you've got clients that find it difficult to be in that relaxation, integration mode? Yeah, you know, all the yeses coming through the chat. You know, integration often means association. I'm going to say that again. Integration often means association. So when I train people, I say to them, be very, very cautious about that end bit when the person is in the relaxation, because that's often when crying might come up, or there might be some emotions, or there might be something that you need to perhaps, you know, assist with. The person's very relaxed, their defenses are down, you're very safe, hopefully, which adds to the blend of allowing this person to be fully relaxed, fully safe, and therefore the body has permission to let go and to have memory pop up, or to have feeling pop up, or perhaps sometimes sensations. You know, sometimes association is not a bad thing, because sometimes there's good stuff that comes up as well. So it's not always about the bad. It's not always about the negative. Sometimes there's some very joyous memories, or some really beautiful feelings that come up through the experience. Let's see. All right. So yes, many find it difficult. Yes, yes. So you can do it during integration, and I would perhaps use it with people who maybe dissociate during integration, and you're aware of their dissociative ways. Though I'm not so, David and I have had quite a lot of discussion around this, and as somebody who works with sexuality, I've always been quite clear that there might be quite a lot of dissociation in the session, and that's okay. You know, it might be that we need to do 6 or 8 or 10 sessions where they dissociate, and we bring them back, and we realize we can only do 2 minutes, and then we need to take a 2 or 3 minute break, and then do 2 minutes, and maybe every week we can up it by another minute. Their window of tolerance grows, and their ability to be able to hold more is available to them. So, you know, we work with that, and perhaps bringing in something like this ventral vagal toning exercise can also be really handy with people who dissociate, just for them to start becoming more embodied. I find that, you know, just a really gentle touch, and it can be in various parts of the body, also helps people to become more embodied. And we have a lot of those people. You know, traumatized people are not embodied. So, yeah. Yes, some people can't close their eyes when relaxing. True story. Even, you know, some people can't close their eyes during the session. So just remember that some people have been traumatized with their eyes closed. Some people have been traumatized when they've been lying in bed at night asleep. You know, we have to assume that because we don't know, we must assume that we're working sort of almost the same way with everybody. So I do workshops on being more trauma informed as a therapist. And that might be to assume that, you know, even lying down on the floor could be very triggering for certain people who have been traumatized lying down on their backs. So we might want to just be, you know, more cautious with some of that, you know, just being aware of certain people, and maybe all people, just assuming that sometimes we don't know. Somebody's asked me about what do I mean by association. So by association, I mean being aware. So coming to awareness. So kind of 1 and 1 equals 2. So, you know, being aware of body sensations, body feelings, being okay with being in the body, maybe being okay with being with some feelings or some memories or some flashbacks if something's coming up for the person. So yeah, being present, actually, the opposite of being dissociated, you know, you off with the fairies. Association is I'm right here in my body with my body. And for some people, that's just really difficult. It's a very difficult place to be, which is why a lot of people are, you know, with addictions, or they are with their form of dissociation, whatever it might be. So it could be Netflix, it could be zoning out with alcohol or drugs, it could be you know, going to the gym 2 or 3 times a day. It could be, yeah, it's not necessarily always bad stuff, but when it's to not be present with our feelings. Okay, what do I recommend for integration when people are restless, lying still and quiet? So I use this person who just asked that question, do you use music at all for integration? No. Okay. All right. So that's something that I would perhaps try, is to put some music on and see if that shifts something. Because, you know, sometimes you can just get a piece of music that really helps somebody to just drop down. It's very parasympathetic. So some kind of mantra, some kind of nature music, bird song, even Jeremy's piano album is really great for that kind of thing. Yeah. You know, I think also when we are observing people like this, people who are restless, or I think it's often just good to notice it, and just notice it. So it kind of maybe doesn't need an answer. It's just like, okay, wow, that's interesting that that person is unable to relax. And over the weeks, watch and see if perhaps that gets easier. It gets easier for them. See if their nervous system is coming back into some kind of balance and alignment. That will show up in the relaxation integration piece. So we expect that over the weeks something will shift. And in a group session setting, yeah, I mean, I often will say something like, you know, if anyone's feeling restless, and I might be directing it only at one person, but I'm going to be generalizing with my group. If anyone is feeling restless, just check and see where in the body that feeling is, or where that sensation lives for you, and see if you can just breathe, and if it needs movement, maybe give it some movement. So you know, integration doesn't have to always be stillness. It can also, there can be some movement. So yeah, I would, I like to give people choices and options. So, and not kind of make them do anything, you know, really give them some choice. Yeah. I hope that answered your question. Great. Any other questions? So I want to, please put the questions in the chat if you've got any. So for the people who are not coming to the next session, though, I think you can come if you still want to. You've got to be your own kind of DJ. If you play music, you've got to really think like a DJ. And I'm going to talk more about this in the next session. But, you know, when, I don't know, put your hands up if you like dancing. Okay, lots of us here like dancing. So how frustrated do you get when you go to a party or to a club or to a outdoor festival or something like that, and you're ready to like dance, and you've got your dancing outfit on, and the music is shitty? Okay. And the DJ is just not playing. Yeah, Julie, I know. And the DJ is just not playing to what your body's vibration wants in that moment. Okay? And it can be really frustrating. I've got to be honest. I'm a dancer. I love dancing. But if I go to a party and there's this like, you know, heavy doof kind of music, it makes my body go into like this heavy doof kind of state. So I quite like, you know, music that brings me up. And that's what we call kind of mobilization without fear. And mobilization without fear is ideally where we all want to be. We want to be in our ventral vagal state with a little bit of that healthy sympathetic thrown in. Excitement, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of, not necessarily nervousness, more on the positive side of kind of like feeling our hearts, feeling our bodies, feeling our sweat, feeling into the tissue and the viscera, and like really being with our bodies. And it being exciting and curious and moving and exploring your body and how it moves. And the music is lousy. And, I think I often say to DJs, because I've got quite a lot of DJ friends, I ask a question: do you have a playlist that you organize and prepare in advance? Or do you have a playlist that you've kind of got, but you play with it according to the people or the audience that are in front of you? Because that's when I know that it's a good DJ. I want somebody who's feeling the crowd, who's sensing it through their viscera. It's a visceral thing that they're sensing and feeling. It's not coming from here. It's not like, oh, I've got to play R&B music tonight, so I'm just going to play R&B music. No, it's about feeling. So I'm going to just, let me see if I can put this up. That's not going to work. So I'm going to just show you my my playlists so that you can just get a sense of how that works for me. So let's see if this works now. There we go. No. Just get rid of a few things that are open. Let's see if we're going to manage it this time. Really? When your screen doesn't want to share. Let me try again. So basically, no. Basically, what you're needing to really consider is having all sorts of music available to you, so that when you're sitting there with your group and you're watching them, tremor, you might go, okay, these people need X, Y, Z. They need something very different to what I organized. Half of, let's say 60% or 70% of my group are dissociating, and I'm needing them to come back to life. So I'm going to put on something that's going to actually bring them alive a little bit. So if you have a look here at my playlists, you'll notice that I've got something called backup. So I might have certain songs, but then I've got other things that I can throw in if I need to. And I know exactly what I've got, so that, this one is exploring the psoas, for example. This one is when I do these playing with a soft ball and we working with trust. This is a 31-minute class. This is a 27-minute online group session. But there's nothing to say that this can shift. These are songs to use as backup. So I know exactly what I've got here, and every so often I'm like, okay, I might need to take this into something like this, or something that's a little bit more parasympathetic or a little bit more sympathetic, because I'm playing. We are literally being a DJ and playing with the group or the people or the audience, and seeing what they need. Now, because there's something called co-regulation, what I often find, and I even see it online, is that, you know, I might have like literally a group like you, where we've got people in Asia, we've got people in Europe, we've got people in Africa. None of us can really see each other when we're tremoring, but people start doing the same things. And the body, you know, does, you start seeing people whose, you know, legs are straight up in the air and they're flapping their legs around. They can't see each other. They don't know each other, but yet they're doing the same body movements. So that's really, really interesting how a group of people, and I often see it in groups, even though the way that I lay out my groups is very, you know, I always lay them out in a circle, and I often have the heads on the inside so that people can't look at each other. So they're basically looking at a wall, or they're looking down the mat. So they're not looking at each other. And that's for me the best way. And then they land up sort of doing similar movements. So there's some co-regulation happening, and then I can actually get into the same kind of music. There's certain people, you know, we've really got to watch with groups, because obviously people are coming in with different nervous systems. So your DJing skills need to be quite advanced when you're working with music and groups. Working with an individual can be a lot easier than working with groups. But as I said, you're going to find that your nervous system is going to kind of gel the group's nervous system, where it becomes literally a group nervous system. So we're all kind of vibrating at a similar frequency. If we were to come in and do a frequency check, we would find that we would all be sort of tremoring roughly at the same vibration. Let's see, just the questions before we end this part of the session. Do you recommend making sounds by yourself for integration, or might it be too activating besides from nervous system states? Of course. Yes, you know, again, I think that if sound is part of it and it wants to come out, then let it out. You know, don't you know, I always invite people to make sound. And that's also often why I say I put on music, because when there's music, it almost gives people more permission, because they feel like they're not being heard. So music can kind of like just blot out some people's sounds, and then people feel more safe. All right, so from somebody direct, I get the point having a playlist for TRE sessions and adapt to what's happening, easier for an individual than a group where not everyone might be experiencing the same kind of tremors, movements, or sensations. And what if it suits some individuals and bothers others? How can you play with it in a way that will not induce or influence certain emotions? So we're going to talk a little bit more. Are you going to be at the next session for the person who asked that question? Great. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But generally, as a general answer, you know, if I've got varying people in the group and somebody's going to be quite affected by maybe some quite drummy kind of music or whatever, I'll keep it very, very neutral, like Jeremy's music, which is piano music, super neutral. Nobody can be offended. It's almost impossible to be offended by that music. And again, it's letting me know you know, okay, this person's irritated. Wow, that's interesting. You know, it's just information about that person. So remember that whatever information we get back from people is giving us information about them, and information is always important. Thank you for that question. Can you share some playlists with us? I could, but to be honest with you, it's a lot of fun to go and play, and to search and to look and to go to Spotify, what is it, SoundCloud or whatever that thing is called, and just go and find some people's playlists, and literally you might find my playlists there as well, and just go in and lie on the floor and see if that kind of grooves with your body. I go onto iTunes and I listen to, and I just go into songs and I listen to, and I think, does that resonate with my body? Is it what I want to listen to? We're going to play a little bit with music in the next section as well. Resonate with your comments, synchronize movement with groups, offer notices. Yes, yeah. And then a direct message, when working with individuals, do you ask the person if the music you choose is okay, or would you just recommend they be with what's there? You know, that's an interesting one. You know, I will say I'm going to put on some music, and I've had a couple of people, interestingly, working with somebody at the moment, a man, and he said a few weeks ago, can we not have music this week? And I was like, okay, sure. And what was beautiful about that was that he actually, this particular person, needs to ask for what he needs, and he doesn't. Historically, he's never asked for what he needs. So it was a great opportunity for him to actually say, I don't want that. And that in a way was a completion. It was a sort of a way of him actually breaking a cycle of pattern, his pattern being, I just shut up and I fawn and I appease and I don't say anything and I just do what I'm told. And there he was actually exerting his sense of autonomy. You know, he was like, you know, this is not okay for me. Great, yay. I was super happy. So sometimes we want to give our clients the opportunity to actually say yes or no, this is okay or not okay for me. But you can generally see, well, I can feel it. Again, my loves, I'm going to talk more about the visceral voice. And the visceral voice is so important because that is the voice that's actually guiding you. And you've got two organisms having a dialogue. And your organism is having a dialogue with their organism, and their organism is going, I'm freaking hating this music. And you're going, I can sense that they're hating this music. And I switch it off, or I change it over to something else. And often I'll get feedback like, wow, when you change the music, something great happened in my body. So please, 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 you can listen to me, you know, forever, but actually the voice that is within you is the voice that you want to really listen to. It's always guiding you. That is the sound that you really want to make friends with. The visceral voice, the intuition, the voice that guides you constantly. And it's really constantly guiding you every minute of every day. And really, for those of you who are doing your TRE, I'm hoping that that voice is becoming more coherent for you, because it's such an important one. And I really invite you to keep doing your work so that that voice becomes more audible. Yeah. Thank you so much to the first group of people who were here today. It was lovely to meet you and lovely to see you. And I believe that we're going to be coming back at 6:15, which is the norm, which is CET time, I think. It's in 10 minutes. So for anybody who's going to be joining us for the next part, I think you've got a link for the next session. So
yes, I have sent out a link to everyone who has signed up. If you have not received the link, please send a message in the chat or email me. Yeah, thank you very much, Fiona, for this first session. The time flew.
Nervous system.
I'm not aware we had it on.
How's everyone's nervous system doing? Is it doing better than when you came in? Yes, good.
Yes.
Yay, awesome. Please practice that one. It's really lovely. So we will see you. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see the other people in 10 minutes.
And thank you, everybody, to everyone who participated. And I hope to see you again on a later talk as well.
Awesome. Yes.
The next talk is by David Berselli, and he will do a session.
Hans, so, who's that? Who's David Berselli?
Who's David Berselli? Yeah, that's the question. We will have to answer.
Come along to see exactly. Yeah. I'm not sure when this video will be available or where. I think Hans will probably send you. No.
I will share it on, put it on YouTube and share it from there. Perfect. In a day or two.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful evening if we don't see you in the next session. Take care.
Great. Bye-bye.